Oh, are we on there? It says one person.
We're on. Hey guys, we're just trying to give a little bit of opportunity for people to get on and for us to get set up.
Yeah.
And we'll begin. Okay.
What's that? What's that right there? Huh.
Oh, I don't know.
Ready?
Yeah.
All righty then.
You want to start it? What's up, everyone? I'm Angela.
And I'm Ron, and this is
Chatter of Opinion. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank
What's our
you.
topic today,
Now,
babe?
we all know that in relationships nowadays that seems like everyone has children. And the average relationship when you have children together as husband and wife
Yeah.
or both parents don't last too long. So it forces you to get into another relationship with somebody that might have children or somebody that doesn't have children that are willing to be with you
Yes.
when you have children. However, not everyone's child is so pleasant.
Angels.
Angels. You ask
Far
people,
from.
they got some bad kids out there, some bad kids. The problem is a lot of parents don't realize or think that their kid is bad.
That's part of it. Sometimes they know and they just don't know how to address it or deal with it.
I
But
would agree with that
I agree.
too.
Sometimes people are just oblivious.
Oblivious. So the question of the day is, would you date someone or commit yourself to a long-term relationship with someone that has a disrespectful or a bad kid?
Okay.
Or bad children.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
Would you date someone or get into a committed relationship with someone that has a bad child or they're disrespectful towards you?
Yes. Or at what point do you call it quits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that a deal breaker? If you know this kid is bad, would you not even get in a relationship with that
Correct.
person?
Not even get in it. But what if you decided to and be like, oh, it can get better or anything like that? Or you know what I mean? And then you attempt it and say, well, let's see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No,
All right. So let's give them a few reasons why kids may be bad.
Or have you ever been in a relationship with somebody that had a bad kid?
Have I personally?
Yeah.
I feel like my kid was probably that kid.
No.
He wasn't bad,
no.
but I'm just saying, like.
I'm asking you, have you been in a relationship with somebody that had a bad kid? I'm not talking about your kid. I'm saying, have you witnessed somebody that had a bad child and you was just like,
No.
Oh, okay.
I have not. Have you?
I've seen, I've seen bad children before.
Okay.
Yeah, I have. And the bad thing sometimes is you watch the behavior of not only the child, but you watch the behavior of the parent. And sometimes that makes a difference. You see what I'm saying?
Of the parent of the person you're in a relationship with?
Yeah, like when you look at the child and you know this kid is bad, then what you tend to do is start looking at the parent behavior. Like, what is this parent doing to correct this issue?
Okay.
How they're acting?
Yes, correct it. But also, what if the kids are bad because the other parent not in the relationship is not just a good person?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. And I read today when I was looking at this topic, they say, well, I don't know who they is, but there was a article I read that said there is no such thing as a bad child, but there is a such thing as a bad parent.
I don't always agree with that.
I don't either, because there's a bad kids.
I just feel like there's just bad kids. And unfortunately, it's a reflection too of our current society and the things that they're accustomed to.
Right.
And so, yeah. and I shouldn't say accustomed to, because then that means parents, but sometimes the way our society is now, there's certain things that we just don't have control of. You know, there's social media everywhere. There's just all these there's more outside influences now than there were back in the day, in my opinion.
Okay, I can agree with that. I can agree that sometimes kids are being raised by kids, you know what I mean? And what's acceptable to another kid might not be acceptable to a parent. And then that just becomes a behavior. I can agree with that. I can also say a lot of parents that didn't think that their kid was bad got a rude awakening when COVID hit. And you had to deal with your child
on a
day-to-day basis all day.
Yeah.
You telling me the teacher's lying about your kid, he ain't bad, this, that, and the other, until you had to homeschool or try to be a 24/7 parent.
Right.
Then you got, like I said, a rude awakening because your kid is bad. Now, once again, the conversation, if you guys just joining, thank you guys for joining. But would you date someone or stay in a relationship with someone that has a disrespectful or a bad child?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to go to some of the reasons why we might think that they are bad.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Hit number one. What we got?
All right. First one is feeling neglected.
Right? The child is feeling neglected, like you just don't have no time for this child.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden, because you're in this relationship, and that person may also have children, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe they just feel like they don't have the same time with that parent that they did before.
Right. Or you get in a relationship and that other person has children and you spend more time trying to get to know their child, which the other person don't get. You spend the time to know
with your child.
With your child. So then they start acting up.
Yeah.
Right. What do we have?
Michelle says kids play the parents when divorced. Oh, like they play the parents?
Yes.
Like, gotcha. They act out. Yeah, I've seen that too, that kids will like use the parents against each other.
Right. Which goes to number 2.
Which is
allowed to act up with the other parent
and
they
test your limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens is, let's say I have a child and whatnot, and I let my child just run rampant, the free as can be. But then when my child goes to the mom's house and she has rules, then they ain't going for that. You know what I mean? So then the child starts acting up because I'm allowed to do it at my father's house, or I'm allowed to do it at my mom's house. Why can't I do it over here?
Over here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do get a divorce, let's say, or you split up and so forth, the child starts acting up to probably get that extra attention. Or
their parents who are now separated have different ideas of, like discipline, like that's hard when one parent is more lenient or allows them to be a certain way, or maybe even encourages them to be a certain way with that parent.
Right. The Otis Wilson says he's gone. If the child
gone right away, no questions asked.
I guess he gone.
Okay.
From the start, and I could actually see that. Mm-hmm. I could see that getting ghost. You know what I mean? From the start.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's see. Michelle said, "My man would never let me discipline them."
Okay.
Coddles them.
Right.
How is that, Michelle? Because I'm sure that's hard when they won't let you.
Right. And we'll get to that too. That's also on the board later on down the line.
Okay. Yeah.
When it comes to that. So we'll discuss that part as far as discipline and what part of the relationship are you comfortable with somebody disciplining your child?
Your child, yeah.
Right.
All right. Next one is no set rules in home.
Right. If you don't have any rules in your house and the kid feels like they can do whatever, of course they're gonna lash out. Yeah. That's when you get to talking back and stuff like that. I don't know how many times I've been to like Walmart or someplace and I've seen a kid talk back to their parent.
Yeah.
That didn't happen in my days. Shoot.
Yeah, we'll be somewhere and Rob would be like, "Oh, slap him in the mouth."
Him in the mouth. You know what I mean? By no means are we promoting violence, but when I was growing up, you got slapped in the mouth. If you formed your lips to even say something back to my mom, you was gonna get slapped in the mouth. Nowadays we don't have that. So disrespect sometimes is like the norm.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like the society is different.
It could be.
Because back in the day, your mom could slap the crap out of you. Now it's abuse.
Oh, in public.
Right.
Oh, you get beat down. I don't know how many whoopings we got lined up in the stove. You know what I mean? In public. Yeah. Nowadays you can't. They ain't no whoopings nowadays because your feelings are important. My parents have beat the feelings into you, so then you'll know next time how not to act up. But yeah, set rules. So feeling neglected, allowing the kids to act up with the different parents.
Michelle says, I grew up differently than him. So Michelle, were your parents more strict, or what do you mean by you grew up differently than him?
Well, not me. I think she's talking about the discipline of a man. Yeah.
Correct.
Probably more strict.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He was lenient.
Did you consider your parents to be more strict because... Yeah. So then that kind of reflects how you tend to discipline.
Right.
Or I guess on another end, if you were like always disciplined, maybe that parent is like, I don't want to discipline my kids because they always discipline me. So now I'm going to be very lenient, and then that also doesn't help.
Yeah, but then there's a point when the kid starts talking back and disrespecting you and the person that you're with, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Right.
Now, you guys can chime in. We appreciate you chiming in, or you can call in at 505-528-5653. Once again, that's 505-528-5653.
All right. Last one is looking for attention. Yeah. They just are craving that attention. Maybe they're going through certain things in their life currently, depending on the age, and they're just acting out to... out and express their feelings, but don't know how to express those feelings.
And it comes down to the same. If they feel neglected, then they're going to act out to try to get your attention towards them. You know what I mean?
I think part of that too is our kids nowadays just don't know how to communicate. So they're not using their words. So then they're acting out.
And the acting out is a form of communication.
Right. But us older generations, we are looking for the communication verbally. So we now should or have to adapt in order to read their actions. No? Who's the one who compromises? Like,
ain't no compromise. I never had to compromise as a parent, or my parents never had to compromise with me. There's no compromising to it. You just lay the law down, and then that's how it is. Right?
I tried,
but compromise ain't no compromising. What in the era that I grew up in, there was no communication as far as no compromise to anything. What happened is, if my parents said something, that was the law. They just laid the law down.
Right. Michelle says, "Very. I would not let my 14-year-old in a short dress." Oh. And Patrick says, and don't know how to deal with the change. Yep.
I could see that.
Yep. Agreed. My parents, was the law.
Right. My parents was the law. There was no compromise. If they said something, you just did it. No. And if you talk back,
no, you don't talk back.
Consequences.
We didn't talk back in the day like they do now. It's different.
No.
But that's what I'm saying. Society nowadays is so different. Like, they just have so many outside influences, and it's ruined. I shouldn't say ruined. It's just a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my thing is that, you know what I mean? You want to support your child and you want them to communicate with you, but the type of communication that kids have nowadays is not the same as we used to have back in the days. However, like I said before, there was no communication back in the days. It was what your parents said, and you just did what they told you to do, or you faced the consequences. There was no conversation about it, and you darn sure didn't act up to get your way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you didn't act up. You just
did.
Just dealt with the situation. You might not have liked it, but it didn't matter.
I think another part of, like, maybe part of feeling neglected is like jealous of the new partner and the time you're taking from me, or the things that my parent is now giving you,
Right.
like whether it's affection, time, blah, blah, blah.
And I can see that. And I can also see the competition. Like now you're with another person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When it used to be either us by ourselves. or us as a family.
Correct.
Outside of you. So this is what you did to break up
Yes.
our family. So I can understand the acting up. Do I agree with it?
No.
No. But I can understand that's why kids will normally act up.
Yeah.
What do you say? Parents will not admit failure or their kids, whether out of line. Excuses for. I agree.
We do make a lot of excuses.
Right.
Oh, he's going through so. Oh,
right.
He's affected by the divorce, or.
And like I said, once again, parents. A lot of parents don't think their kids are bad.
They
right.
don't see it.
They just make up an excuse. Or
what if the kid is one way in front of you, right? Even if you're together with your partner and the kid's fine when the parent's around, and then as soon as the parent's not there, they're disrespectful. So then they're playing you and their parent against each other, kind of, because they're playing these parts.
Right.
Right? So that can put you, because if you're saying, hey, your kid did this, but around the parent, they're total opposites.
Well, I agree. You have some kids that are totally disrespectful outside of the home and then pretty much respectful in the home to make people think that the parents think that they are an ideal child. You know what I mean? But then once you watch, like I said, you thought that until COVID hit, and then now you have to deal with your kid doing schoolwork, this, that, and the other, and you know this kid is disrespectful.
Tell me if I'm lying, though. Are you one way in front of your parents versus, in general, one way in front of your parents versus friends or other people? Yeah, sometimes you are. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was not. I was never.
I'm not saying disrespectful. I'm just saying some kids are disrespectful. Like that's what they concentrate on. But I'm just saying you are different around your parents versus.
Oh yeah, because you watch what you say.
Yes,
you do this, that, and the
you're
other,
more respectful.
Here's
things
the deal.
like that.
It does. If let's say I was disrespectful outside of the house, and I'm talking back in the day, and it got to my parents that I was disrespectful, I'm gonna face it worse.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
From my parents than if I would have been disrespectful to them straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick says these kids always going through something.
Always.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Always.
That's another conversation. But our kids are very sensitive. They just don't know how to communicate and interact. And it's become a problem. But hopefully they learn to navigate through it.
But with Patrick saying these kids are always going through something, I would agree with you on that.
Meaning it shouldn't always be an excuse.
Well, no, here's the deal. When you were growing up, if you were acting out, it was because you were bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you act out now, you got ADHD, you got ADD, you got this, you got that, you got blah, blah, blah. So no matter what it is, there is something for whatever you got to be acting out for.
Another factor.
Right. You got school anxiety, you got bus trip.
You didn't sleep
fever.
well.
There's something medically that somebody has created to say how you're acting is okay.
Let's see. Michelle says, "Oh, not see kids. They let it all out."
See, I'm just saying. Nowadays, when it comes to kids being disrespectful or bad, there's something that you can associate it to that is a medical term. No matter what it is.
Yeah.
Back in our day, we didn't have no.
You were just bad.
Yeah, you was bad.
Yeah.
We didn't have no attention disorder or this, that, and the other. You was just a bad kid.
Yeah.
With some bad parents.
She says ADHD. Yep.
Yeah, like I said, that's how it is. And then it's not just ADHD anymore. It's, you got ADHD, some stuff
Depression.
that branches, some stuff that branches off to that. Then you got what is it?
when I went to Iraq.
PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD. You got I hate my mama syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand my daddy going to work every day. Disorder. You got something. You know what I mean? And it's never boiled down to you just a bad kid.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right. So
we make a lot of excuses nowadays.
a lot
Yeah.
of them. So now that we dealt with the reasons why kids are bad, let's deal with how do we deal with misbehaving kids? What are some of the things that we can do?
Yeah, these are a few we came up with, but please chime in if you have any other ideas outside of this.
Right.
So our first one is set and stick to limits. What does that mean?
Like you have limits to your in your house.
Yeah.
You set these,
whether it's curfews or
you
bedtimes,
set
or
these rules
we
or
don't
whatever you got to do.
take food to our rooms, or and you got to support each other and stick to it.
Because let's say like curfew, we've all been there before. You set a curfew for 9:00, and then the person skips 9:00. Then okay, I'm gonna stay out till 9:30. Then they skip that. Then now it's 10:00, and then all of a sudden they at the club with you. And they're like 15 years old, getting ready at 11 o'clock. You know what I mean? So no, you have to set and stick to whatever your limits are of your house, and treat a kid as a kid. You know what I mean? Stop letting kids do adult things and hanging out in adult conversations and so forth when they are not invited.
I agree, Michelle. As long as you live in my house, my rules.
Right, and your rules have to be firm.
That's
Stay
an old
firm
saying.
to your rules.
I agree.
Another one is give clear consequences.
Okay.
If you don't do this or you continue to do this, this is what's going to happen.
And stick to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't say,
stick to it.
Don't threaten and then not follow through, because that's the worst thing. They're really going to be like, they always give in. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Right.
But if you're pretty stern and set in what you establish as the rules, then they're going to be like, all right, I can't do this because they're not letting me off the hook.
Don't threaten. Don't use threats to get what you need to get accomplished.
Right.
You set your rules. You set the consequences to your rules, and you stick to your guns.
I did read an article where it says the new person coming in says, in this house, we do this.
Mm-hmm.
You're not attacking the kid. You will not be this or that. You will not do. It's in this house, yada, yada. In this house, we have a curfew of blah, blah, blah. In this house, we don't eat in our room.
And I agree with that.
To not target them.
Maybe you might have two children. And I think we're going to cover this in a future podcast. What pertains to one person should pertain.
Does it pertain to everyone, or is there circumstances that one has different rules than the other? That's a future podcast that we have. But
so that's why I said, when you said the person says in this house, you're laying a law for the house, not for one person. Like you don't. I can't come to you and say, hey.
Granted, I feel like there's certain circumstances that there is going to be maybe an age limit. If the person in high school can stay out till 10, doesn't mean the elementary school kid doesn't stay out till 10.
But then you're going to put that as a whatever you want to call it, to say when you're in high school in this house, your curfew is at 10.
You have to be more clear. Yes, clear and concise. Clear consequences.
Make it clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're really good at thinking of all the different aspects and scenarios. So I feel like you are able to think of.
Well,
I would just say that like the curfew here is 10.
No.
But Ron would think, like he just said, like at a high school age, or when you're in high school, your curfew's this, but he would be more clear.
And the reason I say that is because my brother is 2 years older than me, and my sister's 5 years younger than me. I couldn't do everything that my brother did because he was older than me. You know what I mean? So I stuck to my lane. Right. My sister couldn't do what I did because she was 5 years younger than me.
Yeah. Michelle says, I love that, Ron. Yes.
Yeah. So we learned in that atmosphere you have to adjust to your age. The rule of the house is if you're in high school, your curfew is 10 o'clock. If you're in middle school or whatever, your
Yes.
curfew is this. Now we did have individual rules because my brother was in high school and he didn't want me hanging out with him.
Right.
So my parents was just like, okay, your curfew is, let's say, 10 o'clock. And my curfew might have been like 8 o'clock or something like
Right.
that. But I wasn't trying to hang out.
But you
in the
still
streets at that time
establish
anyway.
in this, yeah.
Then when we got older and we still lived in the house rule was don't let the sun beat you home.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we were good in that aspect of things. All right, what's next?
Give them your attention when available.
Right. Give them your attention when available. Not saying when you're in the middle of something or you're in a conversation with your significant other and they come talk to you, you have to cut off your conversation or your activity with your significant other just to address them. No, there's a time and a place where you have to give them attention, right? The attention should not always be on the child, especially when you're forming a new relationship with someone else, because they're going to get used to you giving them attention in the wrong type of situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Then that could become a problem because now you're more focused on your child, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, than them.
Mm-hmm.
So then they might start feeling neglected or feeling like they're in competition with your child.
What I take from that too, on another aspect, is when you're in a blended family, it's always good to just spend time with the kid, like your kid. Just give that one some attention, some time.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that.
When me and Ron first got together, we each had our own child, and we did make it a point where I would spend time with Zaylin and we would go do our own thing. And then Ron and Hennessy would go do
daddy-daughter
date night.
Yeah.
You know, and we would try to do that. Outside of that, we were always doing stuff as a family, especially when the kids were younger. As they became teenagers, of course, they wanted nothing to do with us.
Zero.
Yeah.
Unless it's free food.
Unless there was
Hennessy
free
was
food.
always
Yeah.
there for the free food.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So.
But before that, when they were younger, we did a lot of things as a family, but we did try to make it a point to do things with our own child.
Right.
To give them that
'Cause
one-on-one.
It's hard when you come out of a relationship to get into a new relationship, and now you have to share time, especially when your time was mainly focused on
them.
your child. You know what I mean? Whether it be sports, school, or just hanging out with them. Now you have to share that time. You should continue on doing that and not stray away from that whole situation and spending time with your kid.
Yeah.
All right.
Last one is, oh no, am I on the right one?
Yeah. Michelle says.
Also, kids non-appreciative. Their grandma would send them money for their birthday. I'm not saying $5 or candy like my abuelita, $2.50, and Christmas is more. Wow. Oh.
Yeah, we gonna. That's another podcast, Michelle, because we're gonna get into entitled children. We're gonna get into that whole entitled children thing coming up soon, because today's generation is totally different than.
That would be hard too if, like, the outside of the household, they're getting all these gifts and this and that, and in this household we don't quite do those things. So then there's that imbalance, and then they act differently.
Right. If you come over to my house and I'm always showering you with gifts and stuff, and then you go to somebody else's house,
and then you got to eat Cocoa Roos for breakfast.
You get nothing. Cocoa Roos. You get nothing. Then that could be an issue.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Another way to deal with misbehaving kids is address the good as well as the bad. You know what I mean? If they're acting up and whatnot, don't always harp on them for the bad things that they do. You have to address the good things that they do as well.
Yeah.
And maybe they might change their behavior. You know what I mean? Because the only attention I get is when I'm acting
bad.
up. Yeah.
That's true.
If I'm doing something good, then, appreciate what you should be doing anyway.
Yeah.
The good behavior. Don't always call me out or communicate with me because I'm bad.
Now, would you say we kind of, when we made this list, kind of did it more concentrating on the parent of the child that is acting out? Or because I have a few more that I would think as the outside parent is to maybe like give them space and not be overbearing in your approach. Right. Like when you first meet them, don't be like so like trying to impress, trying to I think there's a way to approach them so that you're not overbearing. Like, you're already a new person. You're taking my time away from my parent.
Mhm.
Like, don't like insert yourself too much or overwhelmingly to where they kind of are like, whoa.
Right. And I could agree with that. You have to get to know the child and what the
Take your time.
the space of the child. Sometimes kids just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So you have to understand what the boundaries are. If you know that they're in a situation and maybe they just got a minor tude for right now, leave them alone and eventually they'll come around.
Right.
You
Give
know what
them
I mean?
space. Also, though, maybe let them know I'm here if you need me. Just subtle, kind of subtle, subtle attempts,
Right.
and things like that.
Or don't try to be somebody that you're not. You know what I mean? Don't try to take on
The
the
parent
motherly
role.
role, like I'm your mom, or I'm going to be your
Mhm.
mom, or this, that, and the other. I'm going to be your dad, and I'm going to be friend with you. Don't try to be somebody that you're not.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
And I
first you
know
have to
it can
earn the
be
kid's trust.
confusing, because I know when I first got with Ron, I was really nervous because Ron and Hennessy were so close. They were like two peas in a
It's
pod.
my road dog, hero.
Yeah. And also thinking of dealing with a teenage girl, because I've heard of so many horror stories of teenage girls. So I was afraid. Deathly afraid.
No need to be afraid, man.
So just trying to navigate that as the parent, outside parent coming in, is just it's hard to navigate, and I get it, but just learn, listen, and be learn to compromise.
Yeah, but in my case, being at that time a single father, I didn't raise no disrespectful child. You know what I mean? I just know that if it was me back in the days, my parents wouldn't have dealt with disrespect, and she was for the most part respectful and this, that, and the other. And I can understand how difficult it would be to jump into a teenager's life. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but
Michelle says Craig's daughter made me cry. She was 14. Wow. I don't know if Hennessy made me cry, but I can only imagine how you felt. And you almost feel helpless, because how do you deal with that?
Yeah, but you also got to understand, in that case, when you came into the picture, Hennessy was all I had. You know what I mean? Like, we were together.
Yeah, it was
like,
y'all two.
Yeah, we
I
were
know.
together. So you coming into the picture, sometimes I felt a little bit nerve-wracking, because you don't know where you fit in.
No.
Seeing as though me and Hennessy, we already had our routines. We
Oh,
already had
let me
things that
tell
we were
you,
going
I mean,
on.
you get in a travel car with these people and they got their routine of the songs, and you're just like, okay, you know?
But you just got to get in where you
Yeah.
fit in. You know what I
But
mean?
again,
So-
I don't feel, maybe Hennessy can correct me, but I felt like I really tiptoed around certain situations where Ron was like, no, you're the adult, tell her this or that. And then there's other times where he's like, she's not going to bite you. Just tell her to give you your brush that you're looking for.
Yeah. My thing is, yeah.
Right?
Compromise is huge.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Not to always give in, but compromising.
Yeah, compromising on something that's not going to disrespect your integrity.
Yeah.
No, you can compromise with kids, but you have to make sure that they understand you are the parent.
Yeah, I'm not your friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Michelle says later she said, I'm more her mom than her own mom.
Oh.
That's good though. So at 14, she kind of made you cry. And then as she got older, did the relationship get better, Michelle? I'm hoping so. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
That you guys made some progress, maybe as you age, or as they aged, I guess.
Right.
It's also getting familiar with each other when it's so like raw and like unfamiliar.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
it's difficult for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, she says yes.
Yeah, and especially children. It's difficult when you get into a relationship, but if they start off bad, it's even worse, because now I got to deal with you as a child, and I'm trying to form a relationship with
the person that I'm actually dealing with.
Yeah, I agree.
A question that I had was, when in the relationship is it okay for your partner to discipline your child? Now, I'm not talking about whooping them. I'm just saying discipline. Like, what part of the relationship?
Like, go to your room, you're not going out.
Yeah,
type
like,
thing.
Give me your phone, or you take away a kid's phone, boy. Woo.
Oh yeah.
But when in that relationship is it okay to discipline someone's child because they are being disrespectful or
again, to me, that's from the first part of the relationship where all these guidelines need to be set.
Oh, okay.
From the jump. And also, I think that the parent needs to let the child know, like, hey, Ron has the ability to not let you go out or send you to, like, these are what he can do, so that the child also knows what you've allowed or not allowed.
Oh, I remember Kyron, boy. Oh, Lord.
Oh.
He got me, boy. If me and Crystal had a better relationship at that time,
you always say
he would have got a whooping.
I think it was at the very beginning of our relationship. And where did you take Kyron?
I was
Hennessy's registration
Hennessy
for school.
And if you guys don't know who Hennessy is, for you guys first journey, Hennessy is my daughter. I was registering her for school, and I had to take
for high school
to school with me. Yeah, no, I was watching him at that time, and he was acting up. Like, I wasn't used to that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Crystal well enough, boy. If I would have known Crystal like I know her now, somebody would have got a whooping that day, boy. But as far as in a relationship, because Zay became a part of our lives when we got together, and I was uncertain on when I could actually discipline, and not just uncertain. My type of discipline was totally different than your type of discipline. You know what I mean? So that could be an issue in itself.
We were very different in the way that we approach things. I agree.
Yeah.
But I feel like you didn't discipline him.
No, because like I said, my discipline wasn't the same as your discipline. So I told you what the situation was, and then you handled the situation.
You were really good at hands off. You wouldn't involve yourself or insert yourself whatsoever. But either after or before a situation, you would kind of communicate with me what you felt. I also, though, looked at you for direction a lot.
Sometimes,
I would always be like, what should I do? Or how should I handle this? He's been my voice of reason since we've been together. I just feel like he's very level-headed, and I'm not. And so I do take into account his opinions quite a bit. And so, I would ask him, how do I approach this? But he himself would not. I think one time, and it was when Zaylin was in high school, that you had to insert yourself. Outside of that, you were like hands off.
Yes, because you had a certain style of parenting.
Which didn't work.
I was not. It works, you know what I mean?
It didn't work. At the time, it didn't work. It didn't work for Zaylin at the time. But now that he's older, he understands from what he's told me.
I'm just saying.
Crystal says, I was thinking about Kyron and Ron's situation. Yeah.
Totally.
He's said it about 200 times in this relationship because it's always a topic that comes up. So
I had never been put in that situation before. I'd never, and that Kyron got me, boy. If you know me, you probably never seen me mad or upset.
Pull on Elodia. What does that mean?
Elodia.
Oh, pull on Elodia. Oh, yeah.
Now, I just never been in that situation before where I was watching somebody else's kid and they were bad. You know what I mean? So then when he was doing that, the black in me said, snatch this boy up. But the stranger in me said, boy, you better not snatch that boy up in front of all these kids.
They're going to get you parents, for abuse.
Yeah, boy. Like I said, if you know me, you probably never seen me mad. I don't normally get mad or upset like that, but that day, boy, woo, he was cooking my grits, boy. He was cooking my grits.
Also, too, I think an aspect of this is, at what point do you call it quits? Is it when your mental is really being affected and you're now miserable and you can't really enjoy your relationship with your significant other because it's there's just that separation now.
If I got to focus on your
Someone else
child more than I can focus on you because the child is undisciplined,
Yeah.
I'm out. If I gotta, if I'm looking at you to do something or and discipline your child and you just don't do it, I'm out. You know what I mean? I can't.
Let's see. Crystal says they probably would have. That was your kid anyway. You would have been all right.
Nah.
I don't get it. What does she
The
mean?
Kyron thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
That's true. They probably thought it was your kid.
They
Yeah.
probably did, but nah, that gym was packed, son. that it was library. That library was packed. He jumped on that table. Oh, boy, he got me. He got me. But yeah, if I'm focused on you more than I'm focused on your child more than I'm focused on my relationship, I always got to come over and then we spend half a night, trying to discipline this child, or there's always something going on with the child, then I'm out.
That's the hard thing too, though, because I do feel like it's sometimes that kid's age.
Okay.
So it's like, like just over this hill. I just know it's gonna get better.
Yeah, but once you get over that hill and they don't do it,
I know.
they don't straighten up. Then
that's hard, especially if you think that you're the person you're in the relationship with is your person.
Yeah,
if you think that's your person, but unfortunately this kid is the one that's like driving that division, that's sad.
And you can work it out. I'm not saying leave any relationship.
You're like, call me back in about 4 years when they're
no, you can work out
but
anything.
It's not working for me right now.
It's a part of your patience. You know what I mean? Is that something that you really want to get involved in? Because you're looking at a situation where a child is bad or acting up, especially being disrespectful towards you, but you also have life things that's going on. You know what I mean? So all that stuff can pile up. If you just can't deal with it, then bail. And I'm saying bail from the start. Don't wait.
Just cut the Band-Aid.
Just be out.
Don't linger.
Just be out. Yeah. Because a bad kid, like I said, if once I get in a relationship with you and I see that your kid is bad, now I'm gonna start looking at you at your parenting. If you're allowing this kid to do this, knowing that it's affecting me.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing too, is making sure that the parent is inserting themselves so that you shouldn't have to as much, right? This is my kid. I take full responsibility, whether it's disciplining, setting the guidelines, blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't have to. I appreciate it if you do, if there's a situation, but the parent of that child should be the one, no, you're going to respect this person, or yes, he said to be home by 10, you need to be home at 10, like backing up your partner. Right. And then also too, I think that it's important when say for some reason Ron did approach Zaylin and I didn't agree with it. I think that to a point, depending on what he was doing, if he was like about to hit him, yes, I'm going to insert myself. But if it was just something that I didn't quite agree with, I would not bring it up to him in front of my kid. I would bring it up behind closed doors and say, hey, I didn't like your approach. Please don't do that again.
Right.
It's better to do that as a unit together than in front of the kid. And then the kid sees that there's some separation there.
Lupita says that her experience with her husband's daughter was she was a sweetheart. And she was so blessed to have a blended family. Now
you're lucky.
Well, in some cases, it actually works out that way where you don't have any issues. But then you got in some cases where the kid is just awful. Yeah. And so, Lupita, what you going through a good situation with, especially another female, a daughter in the house in that competition is a good thing. If you didn't have any issues with it.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend, and when she sees this, she'll know I'm talking about her. But her and her husband had 3 kids prior in a prior marriage. And initially the kids were fine, but unfortunately the ex was kind of toxic and put a lot of stuff into the kids' heads. And so that was, mainly their issue. And it was unfortunate because their dad was a good dad and involved. And as much as he could be and stuff, but it was the outside parent that was really causing that issue, and you can only do so much. And because they're separating plate, it also didn't help because the kids' mom lived out of state, so then they had more time with their mom, and then maybe that caused a little bit more distance between them and their dad. So then anything that the mom said was like Bible, like set in stone, and anything with the dad unfortunately didn't hit them as hard.
Right.
So that I think would, it's rough.
And Lupita says again, she says, yes, the first thing she said is, I want you to meet my mom. It was so sweet.
Oh.
Yeah, that is sweet.
That is
people
good.
Don't, normally kids don't, they keep stuff separate because they coached by one parent or the other. Like, this is how it is. When you're over here, you're over here. When you go with your mom or you go with your dad, you're with them. So to have a family, or if both parents could actually get along and be parents,
it makes a difference.
Right. If you're on the same page, it does make a big difference.
Alma says most relationships today have to deal with children. Depends on the individual. Different rules today for some kids, or more allowed by some. Tough issue. The song Love will keep us together. Oh, love will keep us together.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree. A lot of it has to deal with love. I agree.
Yeah.
Double estrogen in the house is hard. I totally agree. Oh my God. Like I said, Hennessy, and I told her this to her face. I'm like, your silent treatments were like, ugh.
But I know Hennessy,
she was
when
good
she's silent,
at the silent
just
treatment.
leave her alone. She gonna come around. You know, she good. Just leave her alone for a minute, and then she'll be all right.
Hennessy was good at the silent treatment.
She got that.
I was not.
But so
the mother in me left her alone, but the girl in me was like, "Oh no, she did."
I said, "Hey, leave that girl alone. Eventually, she'll be all right."
I think we were lucky that both of our kids weren't like outrageously like disrespectful or like bad, and we worked together a lot and communicated a lot. So we were blessed, I have to say, for us having a blended family.
Yeah. I think one of the main things that was discussed is one was disrespect. We will not tolerate any type of disrespect, and I'm not even talking about in the house. It's just in general. You don't go out in the public and disrespect anyone, and just definitely don't disrespect your parents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was laid down from kind of the start. So it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? We came into a situation where both kids were kind of at that age where
it was like the teenage age.
You can raise them to be the way that you wanted them to be, and they were already kind of stuck in some type of way.
I say now though, like now that our kids are older, I think based on that foundation we set, it was a few rough patches, but in general, like we get along as a unit very well. I think of Hennessy as my own daughter, so we get along well. Zaylin and Ron have a good relationship, and they can now have a beer together and just like Zaylin come home with the 6-pack and, have a beer. Like,
I used to take my dog home beer.
So we've come such a long way. And we didn't experience the quote unquote bad, disrespectful kid like others have. And so
they were not disrespectful towards each other either.
Oh no, that's another thing. Our kids did vibe pretty well. I don't know if it was the age gap or what, but I don't feel like they fought or they didn't interact too much up to a certain age, because Hennessy was like in high school age, and Zaylin to her was probably still kind of like that little brother type thing, but they didn't fight or anything, which is good. They didn't not like each other. Right. So that was very helpful. I agree.
Hennessy says with those lobster days, when we're talking about food, she would join us for them lobster days or them foods, or talking about she just wanted something a little light for daddy-daughter day and spend like $30-something at Red Lobster. Never again, player, never again. But those are the things that we looked at, the reasons why kids are bad. You just have to evaluate your situation. And
I think to a point, give them a little bit of grace. There's a lot of changes. It also depends on their age.
Well, it depends on the level of disrespect, regardless of the fact. Because you have some kids that are smart at the mouth. You have some kids that are just not. They're not used to your tactics and what you will and won't deal with.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to evaluate your situation and just the level of disrespect. But you have to figure that out kind of from the start. If it's something that you know that you're not going to be able to deal with, I would just walk away from the situation before you get wrapped into something and it affects your whole relationship, your life, and so forth, when you could just walk away from the situation. If it's something that you can deal with and your partner is willing to work with you or you're willing to work with them, then see it through.
Yeah, and it's going to require a lot of work and communication, respect, and love, definitely.
Yeah, but it's a different situation when you put yourself in between a mother or a father and their child in yourself. You're not going to win that battle.
Yeah.
Or you shouldn't win that battle, because if it was my child, I'm a kind of side with my child the whole time. I'm not going to get rid of my child, good or bad, for the betterment of our relationship. You know what I mean? So you just got to see what you can deal with and just press on from there.
Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. So that's our conversation for today. Would you date someone or stay in a relationship with a person that had a disrespectful or bad child? We covered the reasons kids are bad, as well as how to deal with some misbehaving children.
That's our cue. Marley's like, get me out of my kennel. She does pretty good in general. So she's like, I'm ready.
So until next week, we really appreciate you guys for joining us.
Yes,
supporting us. One of these days, one of y'all are going to have to call in or join us live on here. We are on Spotify and on YouTube Live under Chatter of Opinion. Yeah. So make sure you chime in at any time.
You can also go back to watch old episodes.
Yes.
It's not like because you missed a live that you're SOL. You can reference those other episodes if you'd like to do that.
Right.
And also make sure to subscribe to the channel, because you get notified anytime we add something. So
yes.
Yeah. So, Michelle says, "Oh shit, I should have called in."
Yeah, you should.
I told y'all.
Next time, Michelle. But until next time, we shall see you guys later. It is a 4-day weekend or 3-day weekend for the majority of you guys.
Have a good holiday.
It's a holiday, so make sure you guys are safe in whatever you guys decide to do. If you're drinking, please don't drive. Be responsible. We lose a lot of people. It's starting to be on Memorial Day in a lot of places, the 101 critical days of summer. We lose a lot of individuals due to summertime activity. So
says a safety guy.
Just make sure that you guys are safe in whatever you decide to do over the holiday weekend.
Thanks for the support, guys.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.